What's up, Metal Summoners? It is so good to see you guys. As always, it is the middle of the week. We're going to kick off your weekend right on Hump Day, and we're going to rock out. We're going to have a good time. As always, welcome back to your Island of Misfit Toys with myself and Angel, and we are going to keep the train on the tracks. We got a lot of great conversation, a lot of good, cool things that we're going to talk about tonight. And we are going to let lightning strike tonight, man. We've got Pete, we've got Striker in the house. First and foremost, man, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of time out of your evening, man. And welcome to the Metal Summit. It's great to see you.
Hey, thanks for having me here, guys. Great to be here.
Absolutely, man.
Intro, by the way. That
Yeah,
intro
man.
video?
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah. We had a friend of ours that wanted to get involved with the show. It didn't really work out, but he was like a graphic designer, and he put together that killer intro for us. He's like, hey, I don't know if it's going to work out between what you guys do and what I do, but hey, I'd really like to put together this intro for you. And it was cool, man. So we definitely rocked that one out with pride. But thank you, man. I'm so glad that you like it.
Hell yeah, dude.
Absolutely, man. Well, first and foremost, man, super glad, like I said, to have you on the show because, unfortunately, when you guys were on tour, you kind of got your rocks off a little bit and it threw a little kink into your guys' plans.
Yeah, we hit some rocks. They rocked us, and we couldn't rock anymore. So, there's a whole lot of rocking going on that wasn't the kind we were trying to do, but such is the way of the road sometimes,
Yeah, man, absolutely. But again, like you guys had put out, everybody was safe. Everything was okay. It was just, just got to set your guys' self up with a fresher set of wheels, which wasn't quite going to happen for the remainder of that one, the remainder of that tour, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to just go and grab a new van right away, in the middle of Northern California. Don't know anybody.
You mean vans, you mean van shops aren't on just the corner of every block?
And vans that are, outfitted to carry 5 of us and a trailer and all our stuff, and they gotta hold a lot of farts too. That's important.
Exactly. What is this world coming to?
Yeah, man, new vans with their fart filters. What is that?
Seriously, how is that not how is that not an industry standard?
I know, right?
But you guys have also announced though that you're going to be going to Europe soon.
Yeah, it's a couple of weeks away, I think. What do we got? 3 weeks out-ish, something
3
like
weeks
that.
out. Nice, yeah. Man.
Yeah,
have you guys
fired up for that one?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Have you guys played out in Europe before?
Yeah, the band's been there a bunch of times.
Nice.
When was the last time we were there? 2022, I guess. So it's been a couple of years. We went and we did a headlining tour and a couple festivals. I think it was Metal Days, Wacken. There was a smaller one in Germany too. What was it called? I got the poster right here. Baden and Blut. Yeah, there's a bunch of festivals and stuff like that. So yeah, we're super excited to go back to Europe. It's gonna be great. It's always a good time over there.
Hey Pete, I Ubered somebody last night that just got back from Germany, and she mentioned that the rock scene out there is really rambunctious. People just really love the metal scene out there compared to over here. Just wondering if you can share your experience of playing over in Europe, in Germany, and any stories with fans, how the crowds are.
Oh shit, yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, it's a bit different than over here. I guess from the band side of things, they kind of take care of you differently. So you play a show there, and they usually have some kind of dinner set up for you. And they usually hook you up with a hotel room as well, unless you're on a bus and you don't need one, of course. But so that's available for you and set up before you go over there. Usually, if you're on a contracted tour, so that's nice. Whereas in North America, where you're kind of on your own, right?
So yeah,
I guess that's one of the nicer things. The flights to get over there aren't cheap, so that's one of the less nicer things, I suppose. But you also don't need don't have to go through the visa stuff that you go through to tour the U.S. And visas are so expensive. So there's that. But yeah, there's just kind of a vibe all across the European Union. I think there's a bigger festival culture there. So there's large rock metal festivals, and not even just rock and metal, but other music too. I think there's just more of a festival culture, I think, where you go out for big live music festivals. And so, yeah, people seem to be really into live music, which is awesome. Not that they're not here too, but I don't know. It's just it's a European vibe. There's more of a festival culture, I think.
Yeah, but you look at the festivals over there. It's usually this person was telling me last night. She was at a rock festival in Germany, and there was 100,000 people.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah, I think Wacken sells out 75,000 tickets in like 2 or 3 days every year. It's
mm,
insane. But I mean, they also get the draw. Like, look at the lineups they pull in too, right? You're gonna fill a festival with that, right? It's, you know, who doesn't want to go see Priest, Maiden, Slipknot, fucking Primal Fear all on the same bill? It's like, come on, it's too good, man.
mm,
Yeah, yeah. But
yeah,
I mean, there are some awesome banger festivals that we'd love to hit in the States too, like Rocklahoma or something like that would be super dope. Playing at like a Sturgis rally or something would be super cool too.
I would love to be there as well, just for the fact that I mean that middle part of the United States. Like I said, the rock scene is always happening. Places like Oklahoma, Montana. They still have their rock scenes out there. So
It's good, man. Gotta keep it alive.
yeah, like Ricky Rocket, he made a comment, and just curious to get your take on it. He mentioned that we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot by always just speaking the negative things. And I'll give you one example. I'll go on Metallica's website. All I'm seeing is negative stuff. They're whatever. They only like the first three albums since the Black album,
Classic.
but yet they sell out the stadiums, and people hate them so much that they sell out stadiums.
Yeah.
Just trying to make sense of
I
that.
know, right? It's like a lot of people hate Nickelback too, right? But I mean, man, they play some big shows. Those guys got way more money than I do. They must be doing something right.
All right.
I don't think Metallica's had like rotten fruit and bottles thrown at them before, though, have they? Oh, maybe they
No.
have. Who knows? I just remember hearing stories of who was it? Was it Def Leppard? Got on one of their big opening tours for Maiden or something like that. Or I can't. I might be wrong, but there was some huge band. Their first tour opening for a big band, and everybody booed them just because they weren't there for them. They were waiting for the big band, right? The headliner. So everybody booed them, and then it was like a year later, the other band was opening for them or something. It's like things switch, right? And then everybody loved them. So never know. We haven't been booed on stage yet, so fingers crossed.
That's awesome. Do you guys? I mean, people in the comment sections, like on YouTube. Well, let's just focus on the positive stuff. When it comes to doing the set list for your shows, do you do the set list different in Europe as opposed to the US?
Good question. I don't know if there's so much us changing it for the US specifically or for Europe specifically. What might influence us to change it perhaps is like who we're on tour with. So if we're on tour with like a heavier band, we might toss in a couple of the older thrashier tunes, just kind of match the vibe a bit. So if we're changing anything, that's probably more of an influence on changing a set list than where we're going. When we do put together a set list, quite often things that we do look at is, what are our biggest plays on Spotify and all the streaming platforms? What's everybody listening to? So, well, obviously, the top 5 streaming songs of ours at that given time of year or whatever, we probably want to put those in the set list because they seem to be the most popular and, people are going to get the most fired up, right? But,
So,
it's good to toss like an old, like a B-side or something in there too.
so just curious as a fan. So, are you able to see, for an example, like you're playing in Seattle? Are you able to see the top 5 for that market?
I think if you dive into the analytics far enough, you might be able. I don't know if you can go by city or not.
No.
I haven't been that deep. So maybe that's something worth looking at, I guess. I know we can tell, like our demographics and stuff like age range, 20s to 30s, 30s to 40s, male, female, stuff like that. By country, I'm not sure if we can go by city or not.
Oh.
Good question. I have to find that out. I'm gonna ask.
I know Jay is like, damn it, you just went right in to my segment. Oh, back to you, Jay. I was just curious because I was Ubering somebody that got home from Germany last night, and I was just curious about the music scene now.
Oh yeah, cool. No, Germany's full of metal bands too, right? You know, full of metal festivals, full of metal bands. It's a good place to be for heavy metal.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, Rammstein's always like the big one out of there. You know, we're big like Rammstein people, and we just saw a band called Lord of the Lost recently, and they're out of Germany too, and I thought they were really really cool. And you could definitely hear the influence in their performance, like they're their own kind of thing, but you can definitely hear that influence for sure, man.
Yeah, man, good old German metal.
Absolutely, for sure. But we also got, some things to talk about as well when it comes to, we got to talk a little bit about Ultra Power.
What's that? I've never heard of that.
You've never heard of that? I think that might be a Striker record.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Holy crap. Yeah, sweet. Ultra Power, yeah. You guys, I guess you've been through it once or twice?
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, cool. That's good. Yeah, we it's our new album. I don't know what else to say about it. We went into the studio with Josh Schroeder, who's a death metal producer. We decided this time we were going to go with a bit of a different production style. Not just have a guy who's tracking and mixing us, but a guy who's playing the producer role as well. So we went in there with, I don't know, like 30-some songs or something. Ended up with 11 on the record. It was a great experience. We were just all kind of broed down in an Airbnb in Michigan. And spent 6 days a week in the studio, just writing, recording, getting it all polished up, and now you have it.
Absolutely. I mean, you got Circle of Evil like kicking it like right off. So it's like how gonna get a little like little bit of evil, a little bit of sinister.
Oh yeah, you got to touch on the dark side of stuff a little bit when you're in a heavy metal band. Even if you're in like a positive party metal band like Striker, you still got to touch your dark side a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Is there a particular song on the album that you were particularly stoked to start playing live?
Ooh, well, we've been playing a handful of them off the album live since it came out. It's almost been out a year now, I guess, eh?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's been a minute now. Yeah.
So, oh boy, what's my favorite? I love playing Give It All.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of layered vocal harmonies in there, and I get to use my thumb and slap at that bass. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, get your flea on.
Yeah, you bet. That one, but I love playing Sucks to Suck, man. That song is so much fun.
Yeah, no. The first time I heard that one, I was like, okay, that one's more like revved up. You could definitely tell that if you haven't seen Striker live or heard that song live yet, it sounds definitely like a song that's going to be in the live set, if you heard the record first.
Oh yeah, it's so much fun. Like we got to play that one live, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For sure. I always thought the Thunderdome was super duper fun too.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard to pick. They're all so much fun, right?
Yeah. Well, no, for sure. Well, that's always been your guys' style, like for real. Is like that like, that party band. You've always kind of had like this, like a Striker show is very much like a Poison show. You guys just have, but you've got more of that heavier edge. But like, it's going to be a good time. Like, it's going to be that fun, like atmosphere. You're not gonna. It's not the kind of metal show where like, and I don't say it this way to like pick on like the genre, but like you get something like where like, yeah, you're going to get the headbangers and the real people that are really into stuff like thrash, but you still get that dominant group of the fans that just kind of, they're just down for kind of the arms crossed watching kind of thing. It really doesn't work that way at a Striker show. You guys are a little bit too high octane for that.
Well, I mean, you could stand there in the back with your arms crossed if you want. We're not going to give you shit for it. I mean, we're just happy you're there. But I mean, yeah, I mean, that's the kind of band we are. We're kind of a party metal band, I guess. We're not like political or like pissed off or anything. I mean, we're just there to have a good time. For me, like especially like growing up, heavy metal was the funnest thing in my life. It probably has been my whole life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, heavy metal equals fun and freedom and to have a good time to me. So, if we're helping other people have a good time, man, we did our job. That's what I think.
Absolutely, man, for sure. Talk a little bit though also about the album cover. Like, how did that come together? How did like the designing of that go? Because I mean, you go back to like your early records, which I've got because I bought at the time both of your discography, both albums of your discography the first time I saw you guys in Baltimore. But you had the kind of like sword logo with the white cover, and now you've moved on to this bright colors, chrome engine, flames all over the place. But what was your guys' inspiration for the album cover, and ultimately how did it get designed?
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, I guess every album's kind of had a bit of its own vibe. This one, the last one was a lot more of a synthwave kind of aesthetic, I suppose. So we wanted to do something different from that, obviously, just because it was the last one, and something new coming out's got to be a little removed from that. But we've been looking at a few artists and stuff that we figured might capture the vibe that we're going for. And at the time, we always like over the top fun shit, right? Like extreme sports and crazy cars and hot rods and motorbikes and jet skis, skydiving, all that crazy shit, right? High energy stuff. So we're like, that's the vibe we got to go for. It's like NASCAR meets Pit Viper meets wrestling meets whatever, right?
Yep.
So over the top, tongue in cheek, we got to find a good artist for that. And I think Dan probably scouted the guy out. I can't remember his name. I'd love to drop his Instagram handle to give him some attention right now, but I might have to look that up for you later. We found a guy who was doing some kind of like, you remember those old magazines from the 80s, 90s called Cartoons?
Yes.
And it was like caricatures of like cars and trucks and shit. With just
and they had that kind of like rat fink thing going.
Yeah, with exaggerated features and stuff, right? So we're like, that's a cool style to go for. And he was just nailing it on all of his pieces. So we're like, man, we should get this guy to do some shirts. So we got him to do some shirts. And then we ended up actually we went and we hired a graffiti artist to paint Ultra Power on graffiti, like a legal graffiti wall that we have in our city. And we were going to use that for the cover at first. And it ended up just sort of as like a temporary cover to show people while we were getting ready to release. But we ended up putting that on the back instead, and going with this guy's artwork because it just it really fit the vibe the way we were looking for.
Nice, man. That's super duper awesome. Yeah, especially with somebody like me and Angel, like we've talked on multiple episodes about how, I mean, we're physical product guys, we're physical media guys, we're merch guys in general. We love our t-shirts and all that kind of stuff, that like, having like strong visuals when it comes to your guys' album and your merch, it's always such a plus.
Yeah. I mean, and one thing we found too, having the t-shirts with the bigger print, that it spans the whole t-shirt instead of just the square area on your chest, right?
Yeah.
Girls with big chests wear it gets all distorted, and it's like, nah, man, fill the shirt, let's go.
Yeah, as opposed to just like the old school, like just striker,
Yeah,
like
I mean,
there.
Simplicity can be good as well, but we like to have the bright colors and the crazy looking shirts and stuff. So we like all over the front print now. That's kind of something that we really can't get away from now.
No, for sure. Like I'm a sucker for a good old fashioned like just logo on a shirt, because I do find that they've got their place, at times and in certain ways. But sometimes when you get like that big, just kind of like color pop too, especially too, if you're wearing shirts under like a vest or under a jacket or something like that, you're not really going to get like as much attention, where if you can only see like, the I and the K, like in between the zipper. But even if the name is still a little bit like blocked out by like a jacket, you're still going to notice if it's like filling up a shirt and there's like bright colors and stuff like that. It's still going to make people curious, especially at a show.
Yeah, that's a good point too. The vest jacket thing is like, hey, what band is that? Ike?
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Boom.
Oh yeah, I've seen that before. That's the one.
I think your thumbprint's around there somewhere.
Ah, it's gotta be. Yeah.
And it's got to be some lick or something you're familiar with. And one other thing that I want to hit you with real quick before I kick it back up to Angel for a little bit, because I know we also probably have some fan comments and questions because we're very interactive, is let's talk a little bit about the Juno Awards there, my sir.
You want to see what one looks like?
Hell yeah, I do.
I think they change it every year. Actually, it doesn't always look the same, but the big, heavy piece of glass right there.
Oh, we're gonna blow you up on our screen. There we go.
Explosion. Yeah, that's it. So it's Play to Win Striker, Metal Heart Music Album of the Year 2020, and then this is the Juno character. It's always some kind of rendition of this character inside, I think. So like last year was I think it was like a gold thing guy on a stand. This time it was etched in glass. So
Nice.
heavy as hell, man. You wouldn't want to get mucked in the melon with this thing.
Nah, man. But hey, if you get stuck at home or get put in like the doghouse or something, you can get a little bit of your jailhouse like vibe going and stuff like that. Or, work.
You put a hole in the wall.
Yeah, seriously. Be like, hey, wait, they can't hear me on the other side of my door. Whack.
Yeah.
But no, that's got to be super cool, man. Because like, especially where you guys are from, I mean, the Junos, that's a big thing. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's kind of our Grammy up here in Canada, right? But it's funny because, like, you say Juno, it's cool you guys know about it because usually you say Juno in Europe or the States, and most people are like, "What the hell's a Juno?" So, and then we got to tell them, "Oh, it's like a Canadian Grammy, basically." But yeah, it's cool to be able to say, we're a Juno award-winning band. I think it gives us a little more credibility, and yes, bragging rights.
No, for sure. And Angel, one more thing, because it just kind of hit me real quick, my friend. Pete, when it comes to like, Striper's like style, like the type of music that you do, the party vibe that you guys put out, Canada is of course definitely not, it's not foreign to that type of style. But when you guys were crafting the band and your sound, like how did you find that your like environment kind of shaped, aided, or maybe even caused a couple of struggles when you guys were designing the Striker vibe scene?
Interesting. I'm wondering if that might be a better question for a couple of the other guys. As you know, I joined the band, 7 years ago, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't there in the beginning. I mean, I was around. I lived in the same province in Canada, and it's the same small, tight-knit heavy metal community. So my band at the time was gigging with Striker.
Okay.
Off and on, when they were first starting, long before I'd ever joined. So from my point of view, I was in a band. I was really enjoying the band I was in, but it was also not the exact style of metal that I wanted to play. I just, joined a band because I needed a band, right? What is life without being in a band, right? I don't know what the hell else to do with myself. So it's like I joined a band, and they were all a good group of friends of mine. So we had a great time. It was awesome. But I'd always, I'd wanted to be in that more hair metal oriented kind of band, or like melodic vocals, speed metal, thrash metal. But there wasn't a lot of that going on in our local scene at the time. There's a lot of death metal bands, some black metal bands, stuff like that. Which, I mean, I like all metal, man. I'm not gonna get all, this is better than that or whatever. But the one that I wanted to do, nobody wanted to do that. Nobody wanted to play that stuff. Like, what, you want to wear high tops and tight pants? What the hell? And I'm like, yeah. So anyway, then they came out of nowhere. Like, they're from Edmonton, Alberta. I lived in Calgary, which is slightly south of Edmonton. And so they came and played a show in Calgary. And the first time I saw them, I'm like, what? People who want to play this stuff do exist? So I got kind of fired up that, that somebody's coming out doing that style of music again. So that was my experience with it when they first came out, was just a sense of relief, I suppose, that people were still interested in that kind of heavy metal.
Oh no, for sure. And I mean, when it comes to like one of my fur babies is being disrespectful to Megan, and she ain't having it. She's like, I'm gonna toss you a little.
His ass up, and I'll fling him across the fucking room.
But when it comes to like working Canada versus like working in the States. You know, another thing that Angel and I have discussed as well is like where in Europe, like you guys are very familiar with, you know, metal is a thing, very much like the thing. You know, do you find that like it hits differently in Canada versus the States, or is it a little bit more like, you know, territory oriented?
Good question. I think we have a bit of the like the kind of the hometown hero thing up in Canada. So, you know, it's like, oh, and we when we do go on tours, quite often they are tours that go through the States or that go through Europe. So we probably end up playing in the US and Europe more than we do in Canada, really. So I think when we do play in Canadian shows, our Canadian fans are kind of excited that, you know, we're still playing at home. You know, we're not Annihilator where we don't ever play Canada and we just play Europe.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sweet too. But I mean, it's cool to yes, it's cool to play at home and especially on a tour. It's always a nice vibe when you know you've been playing all the US and then you come home and you got a bit of a home feeling in the middle of the tour usually. So that's kind of nice. But in terms of like fan reaction and stuff between Canada and America, I don't think there's a huge difference.
Okay.
I think people are just fired up everywhere. I don't know.
They're just fired up for just good shows, high energy, just great time. Yeah, man, absolutely. Angel, my good sir, let's kick it right back to you, my friend.
I just want to say thank you for your time on the show this evening. Definitely have a great time. Hold on 1 second. Gotta post something. There we go. European dates.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So my question is, what's the preparation like before a tour? Like what goes into the preparation before you guys, you know, fly out to do a tour?
I mean, honestly, it's probably pretty boring, really. The exciting part is the tour. What do we do in prep? Man, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Like if we're going to the States, like I said, you got to get visas prepared ahead of time. That's a big one. Making sure, you know, you have your transportation, whether you're renting a bus or a van, or if you're driving your own tour van, renting a trailer if you don't have your own, which we've done both. Making sure you have your merch stocked, so you have all the sizes that you need of every item, making sure that it's ready to go, making sure you have all your gear, of course, and all your gear's working properly, and you've got it set up, and you've done a dummy check to make sure all the stuff runs properly, so you don't get on your first show and everything falls apart, which can still happen, you know. But lots of that, and then of course rehearsing. You know, you got to go over the material. Which is interesting when the drummer that we've been using lives in Toronto, but he's your boy, so you know he practices. I mean, this was a thing I noticed too a long time ago before I joined Stryker, and I was gigging in Japan a lot. Was there? I did a lot of gigs where it was, say, maybe like a big handful of musicians playing maybe only a song or two at a festival, and then a lot of musicians would swap, and it'd be a festival with a whole bunch of musicians doing stuff. And on those, it was always just expected of you, you know, if you're a professional, you learn the stuff on your own, you practice it on your own as best you can, and then you just trust that everybody else is going to as well. And then you kind of show up at the gig, you have a long dress rehearsal kind of thing. You really only play with the guys once, and then you do the show the next day. So, I mean, you know, we've all been playing music for a long enough time. We do love to rehearse before a tour, because especially if we got new material. But I mean, I think worst case scenario, if you didn't get to as much, there's still so much other stuff that goes into prepping for a tour that, you know, we're busy for a good month before, for sure. And then anything else leading up before that.
Well, before I get to the main questions, I have one more question.
Far away.
You get to that last show, man, I mean, what are the emotions like? Because I know you're probably excited about going home. You still got one show left. What's the energy? What's the excitement like once you get to that final show of a tour?
Oh man, yeah, that's a weird time for sure. The final show, So, okay, you've probably been out on tour for about a month at that point, a month or more. So, and really the only people that you're making any deep connections with are your own band, the people in your own band, and then the people and the crew of the other bands. So you become quite well acquainted with those people over a short amount of time. And we often joke about it. It's like, yeah, you go on tour, you make best friends with people that you're maybe never going to see again a lot. So there's a bit, yeah, there is a bit of an emotional thing to it at the end, and you're probably in the middle of your kind of your second wind. So I find when we go on tour, the first week it's a bit of a warm up thing. You're out on the road again. You're getting into the swing of it. First week passes and you're like, oh yeah, I'm so into this, fired up. Every show great for the next little while. And then you kind of get to a point where there's some long drives and you're just like, oh my god, these drives. And then but every time you play a show, it kind of makes you feel better. So, but then you get up and it's a bit up and down, right? And then by the time you get to the end, man, it's like I could do this for another month, kind of thing. A lot of the time, but the worst part about coming home is often we'll finish a tour way far down in the south of the United States, and we got to spend 4 or 5 days driving back home, and that's the worst part because it's like you just did this kick-ass tour, and now you got to sit on your ass in a tin can for 5 days. It's like that's kind of sucks, but it's worth it.
Oh, let me get to the fan questions now. Sorry for making you guys wait.
Let's see what they want to know.
I was just hyper excited to ask a question about the tours.
Yeah, man.
All right, Brian, this is like a round table question. Does Limp Bizkit belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Hall of Fame, hey. So I'm not gonna throw shade on Limp Bizkit. Those guys are a phenom of their own. So, but Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Personally, there are lots of bands that I would like to see get in first that aren't in the Hall of Fame that I think deserve it. I say give Limp Bizkit another 10 years. Yeah. Sure. 10, 20 years. Sure, why not? I mean, they had a pretty big cultural impact, right?
Yeah. No, that's definitely the right answer. I mean, the bottom line is they are a rock band, and yes, they have a right to be in there, but they can't be preceding Iron Maiden and Thin Lizzy and Motley Crue and all that stuff. Like that can't be a thing. So I definitely agree with Pete, Angel. That's the right answer right there.
Yeah. Until Iron Maiden gets in, the other bands can't get in.
Yeah. I think get Maiden in there, get a couple other big boys in there, and then sure.
Right. Because remember that whole European thing that influenced Metallica, that influenced a lot of the other bands that came after them.
Yep. Totally.
Let's see, Brian. Another fun question. You can bring back Cliff and Lars, but you have to either sacrifice Jay or Angel. Who are you burying?
Oh, dude.
This is a horrible question. Hey, which one of you guys wants to die more?
Jay has a lot to live for. Jay has a girlfriend. I'm single, so.
Oh, okay. Well,
I want Jay to live happily ever after with his wife.
And your name's already Angel, so you're halfway there.
Exactly.
Sorry, Angel. It's gonna have to be you this time.
Damn.
Hey, you know what? Hey, I'd rather be me so Jay can live happily with his.
That's sweet.
And plus, I'll be knocking on heaven's door anyways.
Nice. Yeah, lots of legends up there.
Just got awfully judgy on this show all of a sudden, laying down some of the guilt.
Brian's put me on the spot here.
What's your favorite offstage activity in the U.S.?
I think I can probably speak for the whole band on this one. Eating barbecue. Nice. Yeah, man. Southern barbecue. Nobody does barbecue like the Southern United States, man. That's the best. Same with chicken and waffles. Yeah. I think what we'd really like to do next time, it'd be great to stop in at like a firing range and shoot some guns that we can't shoot up here in Canada. That'd be a lot of fun.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
What's the craziest thing you've seen in a crowd while playing?
Ooh, I've seen wheelchair crowd surfers before, which is always pretty exciting. I always thought that was really cool. But the craziest thing I've seen in a crowd, geez, I don't even know. I'm sure I've seen. Okay, I gotta think here. I do know a guy crawled up on stage, tried to fight me in my old band once, like 20 years ago.
Jeez.
That was pretty crazy. Yeah, I just kind of pushed him back into the crowd with my foot, and security took care of the rest of it, so it was all right. But like, it was pretty weird.
Damn, he must have been a guitar player.
Yeah, troublemaker.
Or have been digging you?
No, it was like one of those big battle of the bands kind of events. And
Oh.
he was just like a huge fan of the band that played before us. And we get on stage and he couldn't handle that someone else was on the stage, right? And he's just beaking at me while we're setting up. And everybody can hear it. So I'm like, I can't just, I don't want to smash this guy or anything either. But like, I also just can't be up here being berated and not say anything back, right? So I was like, first thing comes to my head, I was like, why don't you come up here and say that? I says, so he starts climbing the stage and oh shit, right? So I just kind of like tried to make it look like I was gonna kick him, but I just kind of like pushed on his chest with my foot to get him back into the crowd, and security saw, and it was all good, but that was a little bit crazy.
If that happens next time, bring his girlfriend on stage.
Yeah.
I'll drive him.
Start kissing her or what? Then there will probably be a fight on stage.
Seriously.
Like, look, I got your girlfriend on stage.
He'll make his way. He'll find his way on stage. Definitely that way.
Guess what? She's moving to Canada now. Too.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay.
She brought her passport to the show. You didn't even know it.
There you go.
One word to describe you as a musician.
One word to describe me as a musician?
Yeah.
God damn, these are hard questions, man.
I'm glad I don't have to answer them.
Words out there. Jeez.
The metal summoners don't play.
Let's just go with energy, I guess. I'm a hyper dude. I like to jump around and perform. Let's go with energy.
So, I'm curious now. You're a bass player.
In this band, yeah.
Would you ever consider playing a 3-string or a 7-string bass, or has that ever crossed your mind?
A 3-string bass, hey? Man, if I
Just
could play a
curious,
1-string bass, I would.
Or a 7-string? What would be more feasible?
Oh, you mean like a 5-string bass?
No, I'm just curious because everybody plays a 4-string, 5, or 6. So I'm just curious to know what's more feasible, a 3-string bass or 7-string, if it was up to you.
Man, I can barely count higher than 4.
I got the same problem.
Yeah, right. I mean, bases, right? Nah, geez, I don't think I need 7 strings to play bass. You know what I mean? Bass has a role to play, and I mean, we're not a prog band. Maybe if I was in a prog band, yeah, I'd pick up a 7-string, and I would love to experiment with it and see what can be done. But I just don't think with a lot of the kind of metal I play and that we play, I don't think there's a need for it. I mean, I've thought about adding the 5th string just to have that extra low heaviness, which could happen someday. But I'm a big fan of the 4 strings, man. I also like, so when I'm playing in a band, obviously I want to play heavy metal the most. But when I'm at home, just jamming on the bass by myself, man, I love playing me some funk. So, the traditional 4-string bass, it's so good for that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jay, very happy to hear that. Jay is very anti 5-string bass.
Yes.
You
Like, don't get me wrong. I get it. It's just like Pete said. Like, I mean, there's certain times that it's like applicable. I've played in bands before where we have like, we have that drop tone song in the set, or like 1 or 2 of those, but I can just do a swap out for that. 4 is just my comfort zone. It's what I play dominantly between glam metal and like goth or horror punk, which is pretty much like what I play mostly. And like, I don't need 5 strings for that. So it just feels semi unnatural. Also, my hands are kind of small. So like the wider the fretboard is, the more like semi-difficult it'll be. Not semi-difficult, but just the more uncomfortable,
Gotcha.
I'll be and stuff, because I have a certain amount of bounce around the stage that I like to do also, and basses are traditionally heavier than guitars anyway. So if I'm already going to be carrying around this heavier thing, let's not add more wood and another metal wire and more gears. Let's just
More
plug in
straightforward.
and blow and go.
Totally. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I like the 4. I'm a traditional 4 guy.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said too, you can always just tune it down if you want to. Yeah, man. I mean, I got no qualms about getting heavy. That's what yeah.
I'm gonna love this question. Your favorite heavy metal themed movie?
Man, there's some good ones out there. I really loved, what was that recent one where the high school kid who's just a super banger metalhead and he meets kind of the nerdy drummer guy and they put together this metal band?
Deathgasm.
No.
It's not that one?
Trip or something like that? It's the kid with the black face paint, and then you got the what the hell? Then the kid,
I think it was called Metal Lords.
something like that might have been it. Yeah, that was pretty good. I really enjoyed that one recently.
Nice.
But classic Detroit Rock City is always a classic. But I think my all-time favorite has to be Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Nice.
Which one?
The second
That
one.
one hit me hard when I was a kid. Like it
That
came
was,
out when
that
I
was the
was
second one. Yeah.
second one. Where they go to hell and they got to play games with the Grim Reaper and shit. Oh man! And the ending of that movie, the way they bust into that Steve Vai solo is just perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bust into the Steve Vai solo, then to bridge it into Kiss,
Right?
and then they're playing the Grand Canyon and about to play Mars and all that kind of stuff. It's so good. I'm a big Bill and Ted nerd. Like I love Bill and Ted. I think they're all great. I thought the third one wasn't without its charm. You know, obviously I'm a big advocate for the first two. But you know, the third one, it was fun. It was cool. It just kind of was what it was. When it comes to like heavy metal themed like movies, though, I'm a huge Trick or Treat nerd. Like Sammy Kerr with yeah, dude, that's
classic horror movies.
yeah, man, with Fastway playing the whole soundtrack.
Yep. Oh yeah, those were good. I don't think I saw, how many of them are there?
Well, there's only one.
Wait, wasn't there like a Trick or Treat 2?
No, there wasn't a Trick or Treat 2. No, there was a different horror movie called Trick or Treat, but it was a completely different thing. It had that little dude called Sam with like the bag over his head. It was a completely different thing. But
it wasn't related at all.
Not at all. No, but the Trick or Treat movie with like, you know, the Sammy Kerr demon heavy metal guy and stuff. But there's also another movie from the 80s that I'm like I'm a huge fucking super nerd for. It's called Shock 'em Dead. It had Tracy Lords in it.
What?
And Stephen Quadros plays like this nerdy kid who sells his soul to the devil to become like the world's biggest rock star. And his basically his stunt double for music, but his musical stunt double was this guy Michelangelo Badio, who's my favorite guitar player, and he's currently in Manowar.
That's like what, he's playing for Manowar?
Yeah, he's in Manowar now.
Video style, right?
Yep, you got it. That's him.
Yeah, there you go. Man, I went to a guitar clinic Michelangelo put on one time, and watched the guy do his guitar clinic. There's a meet and greet after. You could shake his hand and have a couple of words with the guy and stuff. Super nice guy. His personality was exactly like his guitar playing. He was just fired up the whole time. It was really cool. He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's super duper cool. Yeah, he did last time I saw him, he did his solo tour where he just plays instrumentally, but he's got like, you know, videos and stuff on the background. So like he'll play like, you know, Freight Train from Nitro with like the music video playing on a screen behind him while he's like doing his thing. But he busts out the double neck and the quad neck guitars where he's like playing in every like direction and stuff like that. But no, he's super cool. He's a really nice guy. I should reach back out to him. I've been really wanting to get him on the show. I just think he'd be so fun.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah. Right back up to you, Angel.
I was going to kick it right back up to you.
Right back to me. Absolutely, for sure. So we talked about like preparing for tour, and obviously doing like the necessary dummy checks and everything that you need. One of the things I'm always been kind of curious about when you're touring, like, you know, the States slash Canada kind of a thing, North American tour versus like a European tour. Is there any like particular like things you really have to make sure that you're on like your P's and Q's about? And one of the things I find would probably have to be something to really keep in mind would probably be something like merch. Cause I feel like there's a certain amount of inconvenience to selling out of something. Well, don't get me wrong, for the record, it's not an inconvenience to sell out of something because if everybody buys it all from you, that rocks. But what I mean is, you know, if it does well and then you need more throughout the tour, it's one thing to have like an emergency shipment to somewhere in the States. It's a whole another thing to have an emergency shipment sent overseas. So is there any like things you really have to think about, like maybe judging amounts of merch, knowing you can't get any more?
Yeah, that's definitely something we've run into in both North America and Europe. But you know, there's no shortage of companies that print shirts out there. So just having a couple of them in your back pocket that you know can do a quick order and ship it to you is probably about as prepped as you can be. And then the fortunate thing, you know, is obviously we have all of our, you know, the files that we would need of the graphics in our Dropbox that we can just send to anywhere, anytime.
Oh,
And
nice.
think, you know, how long is it going to take for it to be shipped? Okay, it'll probably make it to us by, say, Baltimore. Let's have it shipped to the venue in Baltimore. And then, you know, something like that. That's actually pretty smooth to conduct that. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's not too bad. I don't know what it was like 20 years ago. It might have been harder, but
Gotcha.
nowadays it's pretty it's not too bad. Yeah.
That's true. I didn't really take into consideration that when it comes to like having graphics, just kind of like, you know, a cell phone computer away to be like, hey, you know, something like that. But yeah, because like, you know, shipping, you know, just shipping merch in general, you know, it's in lugging merch around is a task all in its own as well. So I was kind of thinking about it a little bit more old school style where it's like, oh man, it's going to be like, you know, so expensive to have like 2 cases of t-shirts sent, you know, from Canada to Ireland. But at the same time, it's like, well, yeah, those companies definitely do exist. So, you know, it's like, well, don't have to be too over the top about like, don't really have to send it over like a super distance, maybe just from country to country kind of a thing.
For sure. Yeah. There's always somewhere, you know, in the vicinity that you're in that will be able to print and ship t-shirts usually, I think. For sure, but yeah, that would suck, you know, have to ship from Canada when we're in Germany, and just by the time it gets there, we're back in Canada. Like that'd be shitty.
Absolutely, for sure. Is there any particular festivals like in like Europe that like you really were stoked about playing? I mean, you know, we had mentioned like Wacken before, which is always kind of like the gold standard of like the big, huge festival with probably Donington probably nipping at its heels when it comes to something like that. But is there any particular like European festivals that you've played or at least been a part of that like were really up there for you?
Yeah, I mean, Wacken and Metal Days really. Wacken's like the bucket list for every metalhead. Even if you're not in a band, just to go to it even is it's almost like a metaphysical experience as a metalhead, I suppose, right? Like
Yeah.
going on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land or something. You see guys in Wacken when the gates open, they come in, they kiss the ground, right? Like it's a big deal. So that was obviously the ultimate bucket list festival to play. So yeah, that was a pretty surreal experience. Grabbing pizza and all, you know, your heroes are grabbing pizza beside you and stuff, right? So it's pretty wild. I'd love to do that again. We were booked for Summer Breeze, which was another big one on the list that we'd really wanted to play, but then COVID happened, and we haven't been called back for that one yet. Hopefully sometime soon. Hey, Summer Breeze, we're still here. But what else? Hellfest, of course, would be one. We haven't played it, but we would really like to. So all you bookers out there who are listening, Hellfest, yeah. What's another one? We were also booked for Bloodstock, but we're not able to make that one, which was also rather unfortunate because that would be a great one to play. Summer Breeze, yeah. Geez, there's a whole bunch of them. Oh, any of the ones that are what is it? Alcatraz Festival?
Alcatraz. There's also Bang Your Head Festival.
Yeah, inside of a castle, dude. You get to play in a castle. Now that's cool.
Yeah,
And
like this.
You can't
Oh.
help think when you're in those castles over there too. Like we'll go and we'll do some walkthroughs of castles just for fun in between shows, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I can't help every time I walk through one of those things and I see the areas in the castles. Like, how many people got their heads cut off here, man? That's wild.
Dude, that's so funny, Pete. That's exactly something that I would. That's something that I would think about too. I'm not even gonna lie, dude. There's also like There's also Sweden Rock, which has always been, really up there and stuff like that too.
Yeah,
think
I don't know if you
something-
have to be finished to play Tuska or not, but
What's up?
I don't know if you have to be finished to play Tosca Festival or not. But
Oh, gotcha.
yeah.
That could definitely be a cool one though, for sure. But yeah, no, it's funny that you mentioned like the castle one too, because my girlfriend and I, like Megan and I, are going back to we're going up to Salem, Massachusetts in May. That's actually where I'm from, and we're going to one of their vampire festivals. It's called the Salem Vampire Salon, and it's actually held in Gloucester, Massachusetts, which is just outside of Salem, in an actual castle. And like the speed little version of it is like there literally just was this like, millionaire guy who just really wanted to buy a castle and just goth out the inside of it with like Victorian type goth, like, chandeliers and furnitures and stuff like that. And sure enough, that's just what he did. Like, I don't know the details of like who he is or how he got his fortune or anything like that. I just know that was the backstory behind the guy that owns the Hammond Castle. That's just something he always wanted to do, and that's what he wanted to do, and that's what he did. So this company that Megan and I really love to shop at, and we're friends with the owners. It's called Vamp Fangs. They work with a company called Endless Night, and they put on these vampire salons and balls. And so we're really stoked to get our own little castle experience in a few months.
Sick. That's awesome. It reminds me of that meme, what is it? I won't tell you if I win the lottery, but there will be signs.
Oh yeah, for sure. Dude, it's so funny. Like, she and I talk about that all the time. And like, not that I'm sure a lot of people don't have conversations with themselves or their loved ones about like winning the lottery. But the cool thing about us living in Maryland is Maryland is an anonymity state. So if you're to win the lottery, you are allowed to stay anonymous. There are like states where like if you win the lottery, they announce it like, these people or whatever won the Mega Millions or whatever. Maryland gives you the option to stay anonymous. And she and I were always like, oh, hell yeah, nobody's going to know shit.
I tell people right away either. I think I'd probably just try and keep things pretty normal for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you'd end up figuring it out, though. All of a sudden, Stryker's got this brand new, awesome tour bus, and we own it. It's got our logo on the side. Like, what? Wait a minute.
Right. It's like something went down.
Right.
What do we got there, Angel? We got something fun popping up? You're muted, buddy.
Punk Rock Girl. Festival of Thrash. Can everybody see his question on the screen too? All the viewers?
Yeah, I can help. Yeah, Angel, you're coming in silent, buddy. Let me I got this. Yeah, somewhat locally. We have Eastern State Penitentiary where Milkmen shot Punk Rock Girl, a festival of thrash, speed, power, punk, hardcore. That would be there would be incredible.
Yeah, is that like an old abandoned prison, or is it still a prison?
It's an abandoned prison.
I was like, I think it's abandoned.
Yeah, it is abandoned, but it's used every October as a haunted house.
Nice. Dude, they should have it as the haunted house with a band in the haunted house.
Yeah.
Play Circle of Evil. No brainer.
Oh, that'd be so super cool for sure.
Got ideas for days.
So Pete, taking you back to Ultra Power real quick, when since it's been a year now, and it's definitely been such a solid quality year, for Stryker, and with that new record, how do you remember the reception when it finally got released and stuff? Did you guys start playing some of the songs like leading up to the actual release? But then ultimately when it did release, let's just say we say like the first 3 to 4 months, how do you remember the reception being for the new record, not only from like your fans but also like peers, industry journalists, so on and so forth?
Cool. Yeah, good question. So we had actually started, we hadn't played any of the songs live until the album was out, but we had released a few singles leading up to it, and kind of in tandem with our Kickstarter that we'd done this time around. Because, we talked to some labels and they were giving us some offers and stuff, and we just decided that it would be, again, for the fourth time now? Fifth time now? What is it? That we've been independent. So we're just like, man, we should just keep doing this independently and maybe try a Kickstarter. So we did. We asked for 20 grand. We got 30 in like a month or a couple weeks or something like that. So that in itself felt like it was going to be received very well by our fan base and everybody else. So that was a really good feeling right off the bat before we'd even released it. Then by the time we did release it, what did we have? 4 singles out, something like that. But yeah, it seemed like everybody was hungry for the rest of the album. The 4 singles were received really well. We put out a couple banger music videos for them. Got people all excited. And then, yeah, when it did come out, we had lots of really good positive feedback. The whole album's a banger. This is Stryker's best album, all this stuff. And I mean, I'm a little biased, but I would have to agree. But no, yeah, no, I feel like it's been received quite well, and I just really feel like it became the album that we wanted it to be. So
that's awesome, man. When you look back at the music video for Live to Fight Another Day, like talk us through a little bit of that, because like that. You guys are nothing short of all over the place in that music video.
Oh, yeah. That was basically Dan got a green screen and he's like, let's fuck with some shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck with some shit he did. And you guys did as in because I mean, you've got like, at one point he's singing, there's like 4 heads like behind him, and then you've got like you're playing with like race cars going behind you, and like it's the one thing I really love, probably my favorite part of the video is there's this scene where Dan just looks like he's beating the shit out of somebody, while the rest of you guys are almost doing like that Bohemian Rhapsody like singing thing behind him, but it's the 3 heads obviously instead of 4.
Yeah, we're doing the ooh-ahs and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that video was a lot of fun. We were just like, man, this is such like an 80s sounding track. The song itself, it's got such a like 80s action movie montage vibe to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, what can we do for the video that really fits that vibe? It's like, well, dude, green screen stuff, put NASCAR, fucking monster trucks in the back, get some CG backgrounds too for fun too, and just split them in there. Yeah, it was just a mix mash of what can we do with this green screen and just be totally ridiculous.
Yeah, one dude falling in the toilet.
Oh yeah, Tim took a dunk for sure.
Yeah,
I had to render out a 3D toilet scene for him for that.
Oh really?
Yeah, I spent like a couple hours making a 3D toilet scene for that. I'm a graphics guy too. That's what I do outside of music. So.
Oh, gotcha, man.
And Dan does all the video editing, so he's really good at that stuff.
Really?
Yeah, he's got a really nice camera, and he's pretty good with video edits. So all the cuts and stuff like that, and yeah, that's him.
Oh, that's cool, man. And so one of the things I also love about you guys is like just visually when you perform live. I mean, you guys are just so fun to watch on stage, not only like energetically, but also just in your attire, because there's so much from like the full on just like 80s glasses to just like sunglasses to just the like overall, just like that California surfer 80s multicolored type things. Like, honestly, I feel like you guys, if you weren't doing music, would have made an absolutely bitchin' just 80s wrestling faction.
Dude, are we talking wrestling now? Because I love wrestling.
So do I, dude. So we can absolutely talk a little wrestling.
It's cool. Yeah, I mean, but that was kind of a thing too, where with this new album, we're like, we should do something different. We're not getting as much attention from labels and bookers because we haven't put anything out for 5 years. We need to come out with an impact. What are we gonna do? We got to do something wild and crazy, right? But not just that for the sake of doing something wild and crazy. I think we all kind of just wanted to, bring something fresh to heavy metal in general. So we're like, well, we've been wearing the black shirts and the black pants our whole lives, right? What would it be like if we threw some color in there? And we're like, dude, yeah. And when we started to talk about brand vibe and stuff, Pit Viper meets wrestling, meets NASCAR, meets extreme sports and stuff. It's just like, dude, like you remember Body Break, Hal Johnson and Joanne McLeod, and the crazy like 90s patterns clothes they would wear on their joggers and shit. It's like, dude, that's where we got to go. So,
dude, like you guys, because you definitely have this like, again with that music video, but also just in general, you definitely have this like Brutus the Barber Beefcake meets like Miami Vice thing going.
Nice. I think
so I was like, just for like, the fluorescent colors, just triangles, all that kind of stuff, because again, like I said, we're, talking a little bit of wrestling, everybody, especially at that time, just kind of focusing specifically on like the WWF just to make it easier on everybody, it was that the hairstyles all genuinely kind of like matched, but like the sunglasses, it's like nothing short of everybody wearing the same Gold's Gym like tank tops and stuff like that. I mean, and the whatever company had those kind of like the baggy pants that everybody used to kind of wear.
Pants.
Like kind of like parachute pants, but not like full on. There was like a specific company that I remember used to put out those like, because they were like baggy obviously in like the thighs area with the pockets, but then they kind of tapered down to like a cuff at the bottom, and you couldn't go anywhere without your necessary fanny pack.
Totally. Was it No Fear maybe that made them? I
think it was something like that, like No Fear and just other stuff like that, where it was just like everybody had them. It was the standard, that certain people did their interviews doing it, but when you saw them either at the gym or walking through the airport or meeting fans, you always knew those buff dudes always had, it was the same like parachutey pants with like their fanny packs and their like Gold's Gym tank tops. Like it was like you had to sign a contract. If you're going to be a successful pro wrestler, this is how you have to look off screen.
And it's sick. Like, do you watch AEW at all?
A little bit, yeah. Like the funny thing is AEW's on Wednesday nights, so I typically don't get to watch it that much because I'm literally doing what I'm doing right now. But I do like AEW quite a bit. I like Darby Allin.
Yeah.
I think he's fantastic. I wish that Abaddon would come back on a little bit more often, but I hear that she's killing it in like Ring of Honor and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely do like AEW. Like, who are you into?
Next time you watch or you're looking at AEW stuff, look for a tag team called the Outrunners.
Okay.
So, two guys called one of them's Truth Magnum and the other one's Turbo Floyd.
Oh my God.
The whole vibe you were just talking about, it's 100% that.
Okay.
Like, they are like the era of Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage and all those guys just reincarnated in one tag team. And their attitude, the things they say, everything, it's so good. They'll start interviews with like just ridiculous phrases like, if you're anything like me, and I know I am, and just stuff like that, right? Oh man, they're my favorite tag team. They're
okay.
Killed. Yeah, the Outrunners.
All right, I'll definitely have to look into them because like I dominantly stick more to WWE just because it's outside of my podcasting schedule and I'm able to like focus on it. And Megan and I are huge Rhea Ripley fans. Like
she's awesome.
Yeah, like like I was a ground zero person with her. Like I watched her build her way up, and I always just thought that she was absolutely bitching. Now Megan's a super fan. She does an amazing cosplay of Rhea Ripley.
Oh, killer.
Oh, dude, it's amazing. Like so good. And like I had like a specialty like vest made for her that's got like Rhea's name like logo on the back, and it's got like chains and spikes and shit like that. But I mean, no shock to anybody. Like I like those like darker teams and stuff like that. So like I'm not really a big fan of the direction they took the Judgment Day. That's just not really my style. But like I loved the OG Judgment Day with Edge. I liked the kind of second coming when they brought in Finn Balor and stuff like that. I thought that was really, really cool. But I really like what they're doing right now with Karrion Kross and the Final Testament.
Mm-hmm.
Also with being managed by Paul Ellering, and I mean being a Road Warriors Legion of Doom guy. You know, I definitely love that. But I will tell you, though, when it does come to AEW, I'm definitely going to look into that tag team because they sound super, super fun. But, dude, you can't fuck with House of Black as far as I'm concerned. I love that faction.
Yeah, hey.
So, I mean,
Yeah,
it's just
kind of getting back into the WWE. I'd spent a lot of time away from WWE for a while. I just got busy with other stuff, kind of forgot about wrestling for a long time. And then what got me back into it was when I lived in Japan. I got a job. I had to do a song, the entry music for one of the wrestlers from Dragon Gate Pro Wrestling.
Oh, wow.
So I had to go and, schmooze with the dudes and go to the events and stuff. And I'd watch all the events. And I remember I'd kind of got out of wrestling when WWE was starting to get a lot more like, it was just a lot more talking, the characters weren't as interesting as they used to be. And I just kind of lost interest for a while. And I was so involved with trying to do music and all this stuff too at the time. I just didn't have time. But so going to those events though in Japan really brought me back to, why I liked wrestling. And I remember sitting there watching one of these events and just the way that they get the crowd going, something happens and the crowd's like, right? And I'm like, man, this is like what I do, but like way more physical, right? Yeah. This is entertainment. It's just a different approach. It's a different style, It's mixed with athletes, and it's just these guys are entertainers, So I that brought me back to wrestling big time, and I watch it all the time now. By the way, Rhea Ripley's new women's champ again, hey?
Yes.
Yeah, Monday Night Raw, she took it back.
Yep. No, we were super stoked to watch that. Oh yeah, we were right there on the couch, like, oh man, Liv is fucked. Like, it was just...
Dude, when WWE came out on Netflix, I thought it was just going to be, like Raw and some of the shows were going to be on Netflix. And okay, cool. But if you look, they've got the entire back catalog of every WrestleMania, every Royal Rumble, all of them, SmackDowns, like they've got the entire back catalog on Netflix now. So it's like, I'm going to be sitting here watching wrestling for the rest of my life now.
No, totally. Like I'm really looking forward to it because I never got the WWE Network. Megan's friend gave us his password to Peacock so we could watch, the pay-per-views and stuff like that and stay up to date like that way. But like, yeah, I never got the network, so I never would. I never had the opportunity to like watch any of that old stuff, but it's like, holy shit, I'm going to have like the opportunity to be watching like a Royal Rumble from like 1994. Like that's going to be rad. Like,
we watched when it first came out on the first Monday night, we watched the first Monday Night Raw and that was cool. But then we went and we watched the first 5 Royal Rumbles back to back, like 88 to 93. It was awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I'm definitely going to have to start like messing with that for sure. But it was kind of the same thing with me, like just with, stuff I was doing with music, just other stuff I was doing. And again, very similar to what you were just saying for you was like, the characters were cool, but it's cool that I wasn't getting as jazzed about the storylines and stuff like that. And there were enough like dark kind of gothy characters sprinkled in, but I know that outside, not counting the Undertaker, I know that wasn't really Vince's vibe. He doesn't really know. He doesn't know anything about like my kind. He doesn't know anything about my people and like the stuff that like we're going to be super into. But then I started kind of getting back like little by little, kind of noticing things. Honestly, the thing that kind of helped get me back in, to be honest, was COVID. because I work. My day job is in a restaurant, so for 3 months I was sitting on my ass, and
No kidding.
until we were allowed to reopen, and it allowed me to kind of get back in, and then I started discovering characters, and I was still casually paying attention. I was aware of NXT and so on and so forth, but like, not having music to go to, not having things taking up my evenings just kind of made it easier for me to get back into wrestling. And it's awesome. And now I'm kind of back to being like my super fan and stuff like that. And Angel, I'm going to kick it back up to you, brother. But right before we do that, hey, Pete, what brought you to Japan? Why were you living there?
It's just like anything else in my life, man. Heavy metal takes me everywhere I go. I don't know what else to say. I was in college in small town BC, British Columbia, Canada here, and I just randomly made friends. I'd walk through the hallways every day. I didn't really know anybody in this new town I'd moved to, and there was this one international exchange student guy who was always wearing a heavy metal shirt. He was from Japan. And we'd kind of match eyes in the hallway, as we'd pass each other every day, and notice that we're both wearing metal shirts. And, there's kind of that moment, right? When you pass somebody else wearing a metal shirt and you're just, oh, yeah, that guy gets it, right? We're people, right? We're the same people. So, after that happened a couple times, he was sitting in the cafeteria one day, and I just went and I sat down beside him, and we started chatting metal, and he was there studying English. So I had a band at the time, and I was fast forward or rewind for a sec. So we started chatting bands and stuff, and what bands we like. And I was like, "Yo, dude, is there metal in Japan? Like, all I know is Loudness." And he's like, "Yeah, man, there's so much metal in Japan." So this is how long ago it was too. He burned me a CD of a whole bunch of these, like a song from like a whole bunch of Japanese metal bands. There's a handful of bands in there that I got right into, man. I fucking just dove into and I loved so much.
Was one of them Duran Gray? Because they're my favorite.
One of them was not Deer and Gray, but I did find Deer and Gray. And yes, there's a few Deer and Gray albums that I also really, really like. I saw them in Japan a few times and it was a great performance. One of the biggest one for me was Sex Machine Guns.
Oh.
Yeah, and the funny thing too is they're like a comedy metal band. Like their lyrics are all funny, silly shit. But I had no idea. I didn't understand Japanese, right? So I was like, this must be some fucking heavy shit, right? This is talking about some crazy shit, I bet, right? So I had my buddy, like, hey, tell you what, I'll help you with your English homework if you help me learn how to sing a couple of these songs so I can cover a Japanese song with my band, right? That'd be crazy. Nobody does that. And through that process, I discovered that I really also have an interest in languages. So when it came time for me to go to university, transfer to a university, I decided to study a linguistics degree. And then when it came time to pick which area of linguistics, I was going to study the most, I picked East Asian language studies. So I had to study Chinese and Japanese. I spent my third year in Japan at a Japanese university as an exchange. So that's kind of what started me on Japan. Then when I came back and I graduated from my university in Canada, I just moved straight back to Japan. I had this crazy goal. I was like, all those Japanese bands that I found, I'm going to move to Japan and work with them, whatever. And I was lucky enough to meet the right people to be able to just do exactly that. So I spent 8 years doing that there. Yeah, I did a lot of voice acting and band stuff, sang for TV commercials and jingles and whatnot.
Nice.
That's my Japan story, really, in a nutshell.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Are the commercials in like Japan that they kind of seem like they parody in the States as crazy looking as they get made to seem like they are?
Dude,
like, did that question make any sense whatsoever?
Yeah, I think I get what you're getting at. Japanese TV in general is pretty wacky. Like even some of the shows, the game shows, the comedy shows, it's a total different brand of humor than we have. So yeah, it's pretty good. Japanese commercials too. Some like there's some big productions for just like a 15-second commercial too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, sometimes like big movie sets just for a 15-second commercial, right?
Damn.
So a lot goes into TV advertising in Japan because everybody watches just cable TV there. Still is. It's still very much a big thing in everybody's household. The TV's on, and there's just cable TV going on.
Oh wow, dude,
Yeah,
that's
so advertising on TV is huge there, right?
yeah. So that's probably big money still over there.
Oh, it was a great job to like work in, like go to a vocal booth for 20 minutes, say some words in English, and get paid $3,000. It's like those are the best jobs I've ever done. Some of them, like
That's awesome, dude. Hell yeah, man. Angel, let's kick it back up to you, my friend. And on that note, Metal Summoners, you guys have been kick ass as always. We're going to rock out with Pete for a little while longer, but also at the same time, we do want to be respectful of his evening and we don't want to chew up all of his time. We have him for a little while longer, so make sure that you guys keep pumping in any questions, comments, anything you want to know about Stryker or anything you want to know about Pete in general. Make sure that you put them into the comments so that way we see them, but we do want to be respectful of his time. So it is going to be last call for alcohol fans. It's the last opportunities to put in your questions and comments. All for you, Angel.
What can the fans expect for the rest of the year? Besides,
well, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say. You can expect a killer Europe tour coming up in February. I can tell you that much. But we're kind of looking at the partners that we can work with over the rest of the year, and seeing where that's gonna possibly go. I'm sure there will be more tours, and if we have anything to say about it, I'm sure we'll be touring the United States again in 2025. I would hope that would be the scenario. Usually we try to get one US tour, one Europe tour in every year if we can, or like, if we can't go to Europe one year, do the US twice, or, something like that. Usually we'll try and get both in as much as we can. I think most of us really, if it was feasible, we'd probably just be on tour all the time. I don't know. What else is there to do with life?
yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah, man. But yeah, there will be more tours. We're probably, I guess we should probably start writing some new music pretty soon too, eh? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Yeah. I mean, we're always floating ideas around with each other too, right? And I mean, last time we went to do Ultra Power, like I said, we went in there with like 50 ideas, incomplete songs, and then like 30 songs that were almost songs already, and had to narrow that down. So there's probably still some stuff that we can go back and revisit and be like, hey, this was a cool idea. How can we build on it? And, things like that. Yeah, man. So for now, Europe tour. That's all I can say.
What's
There will be more shredding.
what's the audiences like in Japan?
Oh yeah. Okay, so first thing, doesn't matter what you say to the crowd in between songs. You could say farts and they'd be like, yeah. So you just say anything into the mic in between songs and they cheer for you, which is really cool. The other thing is, after they cheer, they got to cheer, and then it comes down, and then they're super quiet. Like, they're super respectful to, like, listen to what you're going to say, watch what you're doing. They're some of the most dedicated fans in the world. I think I was blown away when I first went there, and I was just going to metal bars and talking to other metalheads, how they know the names, ages, birthplaces of every member of all the bands they like. And it's just like, holy crap, I didn't even know the bass player of Enough's Enough. I didn't even know his name or whatever, right? But they know everything about him. I mean, I love the band and its songs, but it's like the amount of knowledge that everybody has about the music that they like. They're so passionate about it. And yeah, there's not a lot of rough mosh pit stuff going on. Maybe more at death metal shows, yes. But doing like power metal and thrash metal and stuff like that, I didn't see a whole lot of like really rough mosh pits. People are they're a little more reserved, So that, I suppose, they're extremely passionate but very well behaved.
That's the one thing I hear. They're always very well respectful, very well behaved. I didn't know that they were rowdy. Like, I thought they were just, you play on stage and they just sit down. Felt like being at a grunge concert. You just watch them.
Yeah, no, they watch and they'll dance around and stuff. And it's a big thing in the Japanese music scene too that like all the fans of a band will know the certain moves that the band does at certain points in the song. So you'll get the entire crowd doing the moves together and stuff. So sometimes you'll have like a big sea of fans or whatever, and they all know the choreographed moves and they're all doing it at the same time. So that's kind of cool too. You do see a lot of that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, in Japanese culture, it's just generally there's this collective consciousness that it's just not cool to cause problems for other people, get in their way, or be a nuisance for anybody. So I think that really influences the way people act in, whatever situation, whether you're out drinking or you're at a metal show or you're at work or whatever, it's just kind of permeates everyday life, I think. It's not cool to fuck with people, basically. I dig that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we'll kick it right back up to Jay.
Not totally. Yeah, there's another Japanese band that I'm really big about, Vamps. I don't know if you're familiar with them as well, but
I did some work with the singer once. Yep.
Oh, Hyde.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
He had a song that they made an English version for, and before he sang it in English, he wanted a native speaker singer to sing it so he could hear the pronunciation properly. So I had to go into his studio and record a version of his upcoming song. And it was like so tight under wraps. I had to like sign my life away to get in there and everything.
Non-disclosure agreements and all that stuff.
He's a big artist over there, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, that was a really cool experience. And then I got invited to a couple of his big festival performances. He puts on a big Halloween concert every year where his band and then a whole bunch of other bands from kind of a similar genres will put on this big massive show. And I went to it. I got to go to that as an invite because of that. And but the shitty thing is I had broke my foot about a few days before the show. So it was at this massive arena show, and I'm here hobbling around this huge arena on crutches. My poor armpits the next day felt like they got kicked, like, I don't know, by the Hulk or something.
It's chewed out.
Yeah, dude, just totally chomped.
Oh man. Yeah, like I saw I had heard their names, just being a fan of Japanese metal, whether it be like, obviously Duran Gray, but Gilgamesh, Mook, like I can go all day with Japanese metal bands. And so I'd been familiar with them, heard a couple of songs here and then. I was like, yeah, I like these guys. And I ended up seeing them for the first time probably close to about 10 years ago. They were opening for 6 a.m., which was Nikki Sixx's non-Motley Crue band. And that was the first time I saw these guys. It was 6 a.m.'s first ever headlining tour. And I was like, dude, these guys have this kind of Japanese Motley Crue vibe about them because they're basically like vampirates. They kind of have this pirate gimmick that they do, but they also have this kind of, with their name also, but this kind of gothy vampy vibe about them too. So they're pretty cool. And I was like, I like this. So when I watched them open up for Motley Crue, I was like, geez, these guys are fucking amazing. Like they're really good. I like these guys a lot. And then about a year later, they did a very limited run of US shows and they played Baltimore. And I think I ran over an old lady to get to the venue on time. No, I was just super stoked to that they were coming, and I didn't really have to travel for it. I mean, I was like, wow, this is sweet. Only a handful of shows and they're playing right in Baltimore at a venue I love called Ramshead. And I was like, okay, awesome. And it was just as great. And Hyde came out afterwards and he signed because Kaz, from what I hear, he's kind of an introvert. Like he's just not the guy.
Oh, the guitar player, Kaz?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I forgot he was in Vamps. Yeah, no, man, I worked with that guy a whole bunch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so it's probably a bit of a Japanese thing. Japanese people don't open up around people they don't know as much. But man, you get backstage and have a few beers with that guy, and he's just as wild as the rest of them.
For sure.
He's super cool.
Because the way Ramshead was designed is the buses would always be out back in the alley, and they always would rail off an area where the fans could come and hang out to try to meet the bands and stuff. And the bands either came over to mingle or they didn't. You know, it's all good. Different strokes for different folks. And Hyde came out, and this was long before COVID. And as of course you're going to be very much aware, familiar with, masks are just a thing for Japanese culture, Asian culture, really in general. That's just, for as long as I can ever remember, that was just a very common practice. You know, people either wore it or they didn't, but it wasn't weird. It wasn't abnormal. It was a very, very, it was like wearing sunglasses. It was just a very normal thing. And so Hyde came out, you know, he had his little mask on, but he was signing things because I got my hands on a poster. It's framed on my wall over there. But yeah, with his, like, all it was like a black Sharpie. So it's like, it's there and you can see it, but like in a dark room, you're not really going to notice. But I got my little Vamps poster hanging on my wall that, you know, Hyde signed, but we never even saw Kaz. I mean, he might have come out, but I think he just kind of, I mean, like he might have kind of walked through, but he didn't mingle is what I mean and stuff like that. Yeah, but I think it's that same kind of way because from what I've heard from a friend of mine who was really close to Slash from Guns N' Roses is that Slash is a very like private guy, but if you're in a room with him, he'll talk your ear off like all day about, and he's a really, really good guy. But like when he's in a crowd, when he's like around people, like he won't be rude. He'll say hi, you know, he'll shake hands or do fist bumps or whatever, but you're not going to get that cool Slash conversation. But if you guys are sitting on a couch in like the green room, like he'll talk to you for hours. So
yeah, I think a lot of artists are that way too, you know?
Yeah.
And it's also too, I think you don't want to open up too much around your fans at the same time too, because like, you know, you kind of want them to keep that, I don't know what you say,
mystique or
they have already in their head of you, and you don't really want to do something that breaks that, I guess. I mean, maybe. But also, I mean, masks are huge in Japan, especially for vocalists.
Yeah.
Like vocal coaches there will give you shit if you're not wearing your mask on the train, because it's like, hey man, if you get sick and you can't sing the next show, your manager is going to be pissed, right? Like in Japan, I mean, in entertainment industry, I think anywhere in the world, basically, if you've got a booking, you show up if you're dead.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the way it goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so it was funny too, because when I come back from Japan, my main job in Japan was singing. So it was like I was wearing masks all the time too. And I think also anybody who's kind of on TV or anybody who's, has even just a little bit of fame, putting a mask on makes it easier for you to go out in heavily populated areas and not get noticed.
Absolutely.
So it's also a bit of a convenience for in Japan as well, in that sense. So that's nice. But it's funny when I come back to Canada, I'm all used to wearing a mask everywhere. One of the first shows we played with, oh no, it wasn't with first show, but anyway, we got booked on 70,000 Tons of Metal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we get on the airplane and I put on my mask because I put on a mask on the airplane. That's what I do. And it's funny, the other band members are looking at me laughing. They're like, Pete thinks he's Japanese or something, right? Like, so I was just like, well, okay, whatever. You guys breathe in this crap airplane air then, right? And then we get back from 20,000 or 70,000 tons and COVID hits like immediately. And they're like, oh, I guess you had the right idea.
He was ahead of the curve.
Yeah, so I mean, when the whole mask debate and all that shit happened, it didn't bother me one bit because I was like, man, I lived in Japan for 8 years. I wore masks all day. I don't give a shit. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, for me, it was always like super duper simple. Like I've never pretended to be like a mask guy, and that's only nothing more than the fact that it's just never been a norm for me. But I was never gonna let it ruin my day. You know, like it used to hurt, dude. It used to hurt my heart watching people freaking out on these poor cashiers and stuff, or literally just doing their jobs by telling you what they were told you have to say to people who either are or aren't wearing these things. So yeah, look, it's like me personally, like one of the other reasons why I'm wearing my sunglasses is because while it works for a rock show, I also happen to have a light sensitivity that sometimes really flares up, and I have a very dark apartment. And if you watch actually some of the really like the first few episodes of the Metal Summit, I can't really be seen because my apartment's just so dark and I don't keep a lot of light. So now in order to like be seen, like I've got these ring lights like pumped at my face and stuff like that's all. I kind of had to start wearing it because like halfway through the episodes, I was starting to get migraines and like just bad headaches from all these lights. But anyway, that was my only, and it's more comical to me than anything, but like that was my only real inconvenience I ever had from wearing masks when I had to go grocery shopping was, again, grocery stores, those fucking things are those places are bright. So like I'm wearing my sunglasses all throughout them and having a mask, like the breathing heat goes up into my glasses and fogs them all up, and then I'm running into things. You know, so that was really the only thing for that. But yeah, so like, you know, when I'm out walking around in like just the air and stuff like that, I'm cognizant of if I'm about to walk into a crowd and stuff, but none of that ever really bothered me. But yeah, it wasn't going to stop me from going grocery shopping. I wasn't going to let that stuff ever ruin my day and stuff like that. But I definitely think that's kind of funny that you had gotten so used to it over the better part of a decade, and the guys used to be like, he wants to fit in with that crowd, and then all of a sudden, so are they.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you gotta wear them too, suckers.
Exactly. Hey, do you need some? I got plenty. Like
they're Japanese ones. They're the good ones.
Right. They're the legit. They're official.
Yeah.
But
these ear straps, they ain't gonna be breaking on you, man.
No chance on that.
100 years.
Oh yeah, 100%, brother. But Pete, man, it's been an absolute pleasure. But before we sign off officially and let you get on with your evening, please let everybody know where you and Stryker can be found.
Oh yeah, at Stryker Metal, pretty much everywhere. If you're Twittering, or Xing, whatever now, Facebook, Instagram, Stryker-metal.com is our website. But yeah, we're probably most active on Instagram. Which gets shared to Facebook. It's all Stryker Metal. You can find us anywhere there. YouTube, same thing. Go turn up our music videos as loud as they'll go. Annoy the shit out of your neighbors. I don't know. Jump on some jet skis. Crank up the tunes. Let's go.
And everybody, if you're able to, get your asses to Europe.
Yeah, if you're in Europe, come check us out. If you're not in Europe, I don't know, fucking come to Europe and check us out.
Absolutely, man, for sure. And there you go. Going over Europe with Unleash the Archers. Make sure that you guys are definitely checking out Stryker and, you know, clean out of their merch. So that way they have to send files to print companies to get more merch. And then you can sell them out again. But yep, there it is. Europe 2025, Stryker with Unleash the Archers. So Metal Summoners, definitely get yourselves out there to, you know, rock out with those guys and show appreciation. Keep them on the road. Make sure that you're supporting Ultra Power, their newest album, and keep everything going and look forward to some new Stryker music. But Pete, before we officially sign off, man, the one thing that's always super important for myself and Angel is that, you know, how much we appreciated you coming on the show this evening, and that you had a good time, that you felt respected, you enjoyed yourself, you liked the questions that were asked, and most importantly, you felt that this was beneficial to yourself and to Stryker's continued success.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I had a great time chatting with you guys, man. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure to be here. I just felt like I was sitting here shooting the shit with some heavy metal pals, so that's awesome. It's great that you're giving bands an opportunity to talk about their art and their craft and all their experiences, and it's awesome. It's been a pleasure, man.
Awesome, man. Super stoked, man. Well, hopefully when things get reworked for the States, man, you'll get that Baltimore show back, man, because I'd love to see you guys again and hang out a little bit.
I'm sure we'll be back.
Yeah. So definitely stoked for that. Metal Summoners, Stryker fans, thank you guys so much. Thank you for, as always, supporting the show. Thank you for coming out and supporting Pete on his episode. And make sure that you guys are liking, sharing, and checking out everything that Stryker's got coming, whether they're playing your town or not. And if they come to your area, make sure that you guys are getting out, support live music, get some merch, and all that fun stuff for sure. You can follow the Metal Summit at the Metal Summit on Facebook as well as on YouTube. Those are the important ones to like and share and follow, because that's where you're looking at Pete right now. That's exactly where the interviews were done. done is on Facebook and on YouTube. Make sure though that you're also following the Instagram as well, because that's where we put out our guest announcements first. You can find Angel at Angel Alamo 78 on Instagram as well as his Facebook. Our beloved Psycho Steve, who's going to be co-hosting again the iHeart Horror Festival next month, so you'll be able to see him there. But he's of course works behind the scenes with us and comes on when he's able to, because he's taking care of his family. But you can support him at The Real Psycho Steve on Instagram. You can also go to psychostevepresents.com. And you can also find me on Instagram as well at salem.vampire, as well as you can find me on Facebook as well. But again, first and foremost and most importantly, thank you so much to Pete, and thank you so much to the Striker Camp, and a shout out to John for making it happen as well. And thank you guys so much for allowing him to talk about everything that he was doing from his past, his present, and the future of Striker. So again, thank you, Pete, again, so much for rocking out with us, man. Have yourself an absolutely fantastic rest of your evening, and have a great European tour, man. And we can't wait to have you back on, have the guys back on, and we'll have some more fun.
Awesome. Sounds good, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Sounds good, man. Thank you again so much. Metal Summoners, thank you guys. Have yourselves